Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Cliona Howie from Climate Kick. And thank you to EREK, thank you to Formativa to having us here. I'm very excited to be here. In fact, I was one of the experts, SME advisors that I helped start the tool back in 2014, the self-assessment tool. So it's exciting for me to see the continuation, the setup of the EREK, how it's progressing, and really happy to be part of this event today with another project that relates to it. So EIT Climate Kick is the world's largest private-public partnership on climate innovation. We have 400 community members, mainly in Europe, but we are now stretching across the world. We have offices in China, San Francisco, Israel, and Australia. And we are 100% dedicated to seeing impact on tackling climate change. So part of that for us is obviously largely due to working with circular economy and therefore industrial symbiosis. Today I'm here to present a project which is an H2020 project that Climate Kick is part of called SCALER. Where do I point? Yeah. We're all here in the room today for industrial symbiosis because we understand the importance of the process industry, both SMEs and large enterprises, and its contribution to Europe's economy, but also as having heavy emitting industries for CO2. So hence, SCALER was born. What do we want to try and do with SCALER? We want to see, we're all here because we understand industrial symbiosis. We see potential benefits, we see great case studies like Kallenberg, but we want to know, does it truly have potential? Can we scale up industrial symbiosis in Europe? Is that a hypothesis? Is it possible? And secondly, what will we achieve if we do it? So that's what this project set out to do. We have five delivery partners. Climate Kick is one of them. We have Qantas in Switzerland, Strain Innovation in France, we have ISQ in Portugal, and we have the University of Cambridge in the UK. We're looking at these key areas that you see here, but really we want to see what are the best practices in industrial symbiosis that are out there. Obviously some of them are here in this room, and we know a lot of them, but really look at them in detail. We want to do basic increasing awareness around industrial symbiosis for policymakers, for intermediaries, business support organizations, SMEs. We want to identify and understand the environmental impact in a quantitative way of what industrial symbiosis achieves and can achieve, like I said, its potential. We want to facilitate and accelerate cross-sectorial technology transfer and knowledge transfer. Again, we want to quantify what are the reductions, not just CO2, but operational, logistic costs. How can this be a benefit to companies in real practicalities? And obviously, best practices for policymakers. We've seen today the Circular Economy Plan from Finland. Many of us in the room know that Circular Economy National Plans and obviously the EU Circular Economy Package identifies industrial symbiosis as a really, really useful tool for achieving circular economy goals. But why is it not being used enough? How can we speed that up? Importantly, this side, I want to say that we're looking at this always from the systemic approach. We are not interested, really, in single-point interventions or having one company achieving good industrial symbiosis or even one industrial park achieving industrial symbiosis. We want to scale up, hence the name SCALER, right? And this is needed to be done across all the levers, all the triggers to unlock the true potential. And particularly Climate Kick, we're very interested in the systemic approach and what we call deep demonstration. So how can we do all this simultaneously? It sounds impossible. It probably is, but we're working on it. Where did we start? We started with what we knew. We know of 25 good case studies around the world. We started there, did in-depth research. Where did they start from? What did they learn? Were there failures? What are their successes? How did they get to where they've got to? So we did a benchmark on this study. Then we started looking at all these different factors and elements. A lot of this stuff we know today, it seems like common sense, but we really tried to pull it together in a consolidated way, the learnings on what are the incentives for companies, what are the benefits, what is the role of intermediaries, who are the stakeholders out there when you talk about systemic approach, who are the stakeholders needed to pull it together, how can we face the challenges that we see, right, with the barriers, what are the key enabling technologies, and how we can incorporate industrial symbiosis into the decision-making processes. We put it in our strategies, but then how do we actually make it happen in decision-making? So in particular, I should tell you that it's a 2.5-year project. We're 1.5 years in. We have a year left. So we have plenty of reports and deliverables already published on our website. So you can see some of the results already that we've discovered. And it is obviously still ongoing, so we have a lot of work still to disseminate, but you can start checking out some of the results. So we started with the benchmark. Secondly, we also looked at mapping industrial sites in Europe. So what kind of industries do we have? Who are they? Where are they? And do a classification, categorization of them. Obviously, this leads to a database on the industrial sectors we have. So we have a good understanding of what we're dealing with. This is the fun part. This is when we start thinking about, okay, we want to scale this up. We want to do a systemic approach. Where are the hotspots? Where is that potential? Where's that untapped potential that we are not using? The systemic approach, as I mentioned, takes into account all the inputs, all the outputs, and everything in between. You can see here's some of the kind of data that we collected. And we're starting to show results. This doesn't even do it justice. We identified like 16,000 potential synergies. Then we tried to break it down into what does that mean, 16,000 potential synergies, based on a specific methodology that was developed for SCALER, right? An algorithm that was specifically developed to apply to all this information that we had, looking at existing best practices as we know them, looking at BREFs, looking at information from industrial partners, looking at other resources. And we started pulling this all together. We found who are the sender sectors, who are the receiver sectors. We started producing graphs on understanding the knowledge that we were collecting, and then we started mapping the synergies. These are some examples of how we mapped the synergies. This is another example of waste recovery, fuel production. We have all this put this all into a database where it's very sophisticatedly categorized and classified. And we're building tools now to be able to use this material to be able to give real-life practical information to end users and to other interested parties. These are the benefits that we're coming up with. We can improve performance, we can reduce costs. In fact, overall, we have estimated that 104 million tons of CO2 can be reduced if we unleash this potential of industrial symbiosis. Many of those are direct synergies, but we also consider indirect synergies. This is what we call a SCALER offer. This is what's coming out of the project, what people can use, what we can share. The tools, the methodology, the identification of the synergies, obviously the database of the sites, how we engage stakeholders, right? It's very, very complex to get the right people on board to be talking, value mapping, and also a specific life cycle assessment analysis was used. We still have a year to go. We really would like to encourage people to get involved in SCALER, to use the information, to get in contact. We're going to be hosting 5 regional workshops across Europe to be able to share this information, pull in further insights to understand how we can apply the information in regional settings. We would like to invite you to check out the website to find out. We haven't set the sites on these regional workshops, so most likely be most likely be Portugal, France, Germany, Brussels, right? This will be about between September and December this year. So check it out if you want to be involved to understand more about the tools and the methodology that we designed. If you want to understand how you can identify synergies for your particular case, or even if you're an intermediary, I think there's a lot of intermediaries here today we saw, is what's your role in understanding how you can support companies in identifying their potential. Also, we have at the end of the project, which is about March, April, I was commenting this morning with a colleague here, we are going to host like the final conference. This final conference, we're going to absolutely avoid just repeating what we already know. We want to pull two people together based on, we have 25 case studies, for example. We have Kallenberg. What do they know already? What do they need to get to improve this? We also have people who are starting on industrial symbiosis. What can they learn from those case studies? How can they leapfrog on knowledge and technology transfer? We've identified in this project key enabling technologies. So what does that mean for companies who want to take this on and make that kind of investment? It'd be really useful to understand access to finance for those key enabling technologies. So how does the European Commission support access to finance for industrial symbiosis implementation? And we'll pull that all together in our final conference. Again, we'd encourage you to follow us so you can know when those dates are, because we don't know them specifically right now, but if you sign up as a stakeholder or a received info, we'll make sure we get in touch. What else do I want to share? Key messages I think are important for everyone to understand. We pulled together an enormous amount of data, but I think that there is still a large-scale lack of specific waste streams that would really even increase the amount of synergies that we were able to identify. We had a breakfast conversation this morning talking about what is needed for transparency and openness on being able to get companies speaking, to be able to share the data that really will help us refine how we identify the potential of industrial symbiosis. And this is a challenge for all of us. So I encourage the discussion maybe to take on that debate. The most unexploited potential that we identified in the receiving sector was the glass and ceramic sector. The most advanced sectors in terms of industrial symbiosis were cement and steel. I think that's not a surprise for most of you. And there's an important link between environmental impact and mass. And finally, which I've alluded to already, is indirect synergies are the most unexploited synergies in general, right? The direct are more obvious. But the indirect are also extremely important to include in this. I think that's all from me. Yeah, this is not me. One last point is there are several Climate Kit colleagues here who are very happy to also answer questions. So we have Maria here, Laura over here, and Christine way in the back. So if you want to ask questions, you want to know more about SCALER, if you also want to know more about the role of an institution like Climate Kick and what we do to facilitate this and why we are strong facilitators on this kind of activity for accelerating circular economy in general, then please get in touch with any of us. We're very happy to talk to you. I think Laura probably has cards on SCALER, so if you want to take a little business-sized card on SCALER so you have the information, you know where to look, just grab one from Laura. And that's all from me. Thank you.